Good morning. I'm Chaplain Dave Becker. I use he, him pronouns. You can call me Chaplain Dave or Pastor Dave or just Dave is fine. What a beautiful fall morning. I am the minister, part-time minister here, so I'm here part of the time, and also at our sibling congregation, Prairie Circle in Grayslake. So you might also see me there from time to time. Welcome. In addition to yesterday being National Coming Out Day, you may know that the first week of October, October 5th through 11th this year, is also the Mental Illness Awareness Week. And that's a week that was established by Congress in 1990 thanks to NAMI's advocacy. It's a week that's meant to raise awareness, to fight stigma, to support mental health for all of us. And this year's theme is building community, supporting mental well-being together. A theme that's really echoed in Deb's message for us today. Just a very timely and important message. And Deb's doing a couple really courageous and challenging things today. One is she's speaking from her own experience and speaking with some vulnerability. And that can touch on our own experiences and our own vulnerabilities. So I encourage all of us today during Deb's message to just take good care of ourselves. Be aware that the sermon, as I said, is of a personal nature, but there's also brief references to suicide. And so I'm present today during the service. After the service, if you find that you should need extra support, don't be afraid to reach out to me. But I appreciate the honesty and the courage that Deb is sharing with us. It's a gift. The other thing that Deb's doing that I very rarely do is doing a question and answer after her sermon. Another gutsy move, and looking forward to it. And one other very challenging thing that Deb is doing today is incorporating a story from that curated collection of books known as the Bible, specifically from the book of Mark. And personally, the book of Mark contains some of my own favorite portrayals of Jesus, because in the book of Mark really emphasizes Jesus's human side. Lots of the stories in Mark, Jesus just has a full expression of human emotion. And throughout Mark, Jesus is also among groups of people that are considered marginalized and oppressed, people who were marginalized at the time, and many of the people who were marginalized at the time continue to be marginalized in the present day. A good half of the stories in Mark are stories that are related to healing, much like the story that Deb will be using. And those are teaching stories. They're teaching stories about compassion and teaching stories about community. And I think you'll hear those things in the story that Deb is bringing to us this day. So I open our reading with an adaptation of words from Paul Stephen Dodenhoff. I don't know if I pronounced that quite correctly, but a reading that Deb introduced me to as we were talking about today's service. He writes, "Joy and grief, health and sickness, light and darkness, peace and anger, life and death, wholeness and brokenness. We each bring all of these here to this sanctuary of unity and diversity for this 1 hour of this one day." I say it again. Joy and anger, health and sickness, light and darkness, peace and anger, life and death, wholeness and brokenness. We bring all of these here to the sanctuary of unity and diversity for this 1 hour of this one day. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our first hymn this morning, number 346, Come Sing a Song With Me, led by Ken Johnson. Ken, it's so nice to have you back.
Morning. I'm Pastor Deb. I use she, her pronouns. And I'd like to introduce my new wife, Trish. We just got married on Friday. Thank you. She's excited to be here to see me preach for the first time. I've been at Tree of Life for about 2.5 years. Mostly you see me on the Zoom, but I do come occasionally, and I'm grateful to be here with you today. For the story for all ages, I have a short story from the Gospel of Mark, which is part of the Christian Scriptures, and it's from chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. When Jesus returned to the city of Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many gathered around that there was no longer room for them, not even in front of the door, and he was speaking the word to them. Then some people came, bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by 4 of them. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him, and after having dug through it, they let down the mat on which the paralyzed man lay. Can you imagine how important something must be to take the roof off a house to see someone who could help your sick friend? Would you ever do that? Have you ever done something so big to help a friend? What do you do if you find out your friend is sick or maybe has a broken leg? What do you do if you find out your friend is really, really sad? What if all you needed to do was to sit with them and listen and bring a casserole or some takeout, because they probably are not eating well? In today's sermon, we talk more about some ideas we can all do to help our friends who have mental illness, which means they might be really sad or maybe really anxious or nervous, or have way too much energy and do things that could hurt themselves or others. And I hope that you will remember your friends who have struggled with these things. I invite you to stay seated as we sing Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderers, lover of healing, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, whoever can come.
The sermon begins with my story. I have bipolar disorder type 1, which means I've experienced the dangerous euphoria and poor judgment and destruction of mania, as well as suicidal depths I wish no one would ever experience. I've been hospitalized for mixed moods, that's having both mania and depression at the same time, or depression, over 50 times. I've tried dozens of medications in all kinds of combinations. I've tried electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, near the 50 times mark too. I've tried ketamine therapy that worked for a while, then it stopped working, leading to another hospitalization. I've tried TMS, which is still in progress. I can still feel the changes in my mind after transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's what that is. I've called hotlines and friends and family when I'm in crisis, and most of these have had no or limited benefit. I'm tenacious, yet not hopeful. I've had suicidal thoughts daily for over 15 years. Will it ever stop? I fear the answer is no. Although when a dear friend did tarot with me, I got 2 yeses and 2 nos to my question of if I would always be suicidal. So who knows what that will bring. I also have generalized anxiety disorder, taken care of with medication, and PTSD/C, meaning complex, which is a recent diagnosis, and it's hard to treat. I see a therapist weekly and my psychiatrist at least monthly. It takes a lot of energy and mental flexibility to manage these illnesses. For example, if I attend a congregation, that's a lot of energy expending for me to be there, as with getting ready for the day. I seem to only be able to summon enough energy to shower about 3 times a week. I might not be able to do much of anything for the day, including cooking a meal. I don't have the energy to manage bipolar and take care of myself physically, unfortunately. I identify with the paralytic in the story from the Gospel of Mark we heard earlier. I'll read it again, and I invite you to close your eyes and put yourself in the scene. Are you also the paralytic? Part of the crowd excited to see the new teacher? One of the people holding the mat the paralytic is on and digging into the top of the house? When Jesus returned to the city of Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many gathered around that there was no longer room for them, not even in front of the door, and he was speaking the word to them. Then some people came, bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by 4 of them. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him, and after having dug through it, they let down the mat on which the paralytic lay. You can open your eyes. Here are some of the things that strike me about this story. These 4 verses are not the main part of the story. It goes on for a while, and it turns into Jesus putting the Pharisees, who are also Jews like Jesus, in their place. But I think, why put this little nugget about the paralytic and the friends in if it's not relevant? Let's think together about the 4 friends who I think this story is about. The friends have an awful lot of loyalty to their paralytic friend. They come together to carry their friend and to dig through the roof, all for possibility of wholeness. There is no guarantee they would see Jesus or that Jesus could help the paralytic, but the possibility of making a way in to see him and find health and healing drove them to carry and then to dig. Their backs were sweating, but their heads and hearts were full of energy for their friend. Some of the themes I see as we explore the role of congregation and mental health. One is hospitality. The 4 friends made safe space and held their friend strong and secure on that blanket. Vulnerability. The 4 friends broke down a barrier to get help. Compassion. The 4 friends want their friend healed, carried gently to Jesus for maybe a miracle. Openness. If Jesus might help, the 4 friends would definitely make it happen. Willingness. The 4 friends put themselves in front of judgmental people blocking the door for their friend. And love, more than anything, is present in the 4 friends for their friend and to the new teacher, Jesus. Congregations. I've seen these characteristics that I've laid out in the 3 congregations I've been a part of since diagnosis 15 years ago at age 35. Usually, bipolar is recognized much earlier and therefore treated much earlier too, between the ages of 17 and 24. As it turns out, I've had it my whole life. They just didn't find it until I was 35. Sometimes I don't go to church because it's too overwhelming to be in a space that reminds me of my life as a pastor before knowing about bipolar. Each congregation I've been a part of had characteristics that helped me explore and then feel safe. Again, hospitality. The congregations made space for me to be myself and to tell my story and what I was going through. And vulnerability. The congregations were a place where I'm not the only one needing attention for my pain, but also create space for everyone to be vulnerable. Compassion. I was carried gently into activities and relationships to broaden my support team. I learned how to play handbells, I sang in a choir, I helped with a coming of age group, things like that. And openness. The congregations showed openness to the gifts I had, such as when I hosted an anti-racism book club online during the pandemic. And willingness. People included me. They visited me as I adjusted and would have stood in front of people for me. I truly believe that. And finally, love, which I know motivated all of this, and I could feel it. I think congregations need to be the four friends for those of us with mental illness. It's stigmatized and takes some bravery, but you would not be alone. There's a whole congregation of people who can each do a little part. Community help that a congregation can offer is crucial for people with mental illness. It's not just the pastor or one or two people who offer this help. It's how a congregation cares for everyone. And there are a few nuances for those with mental illness. What those with mental illness need in congregations. Everyone, not just people with mental illness, needs to know they belong. Hospitality again. We all join churches or gyms or book clubs or other clubs. We try to find friends and significant others online and in person. Those with mental illness like me need to know we belong and that we are accepted. We're plagued with scary or ruminating or intrusive thoughts. We need people who will stand guard for us and people who can hear our scary symptoms and hold our hand, metaphorically or literally. And not ask ridiculous questions such as, have you tried blank? Yoga, oils, this or that med, or alternative meds for what is considered a serious mental illness. Believe me, we've tried everything out there and almost always come back to our psychiatrist and more traditional medicines because they have a better understanding of what's going on and how to treat it. It's never a matter of not trying many things when we have severe symptoms or are treatment resistant. Part of how I and others have felt like we belong is because of the times the congregation lets us be honest, because everyone is honest. Vulnerability is part of the foundation of a congregation. Being honest about our treatments and symptoms, and they help celebrate the big and the teeny wins. A job, being a volunteer, exiting a hospital. We will need help with feeding ourselves, keeping up with hygiene and taking care of bills and grocery shopping and running errands. And if many hands make light work, then congregations are in a great place to have many helpers. Without this assistance, we will fall backwards. We need your hands-on compassion. Some ideas from this book held are crucial. It's Showing Up for Each Other's Mental Health by Barbara Myers, and it has questions at the end of each chapter. It has a study guide in the back of the book. But here are some of her thoughts. Quote, the next time you hear of a family who has a loved one in a psychiatric hospital, I encourage you to ask them what they need. Unquote. Quote, it was when a person with mental illness was the recipient of an act of human kindness or when someone believed in them. These moments are what help in healing. Unquote. The most powerful thing we can do is the easiest thing. Just be present. Just listen. I was amazed to realize that just by being present and caring about someone, I had helped them, that my presence in and of itself was a gift. Quote, although no place can promise absolute safety from the negative attitudes of society, a congregation may be one of the safest places for a person with mental health challenges. In a faith community, they can be accepted and valued, and since every congregation will include many people affected by mental health problems, either their own or a loved one's, each person who is honest and authentic about their own struggles eases the collective pain of the congregation, even though they may never know it. Quote, the practices and skills that make a congregation a safe place for people living with mental illness make it a better, safer, more spiritually enriching, and more loving place for everyone. Quote, one very useful thing congregation members can do is to compile a list of reputable local services, providers, and advocacy organizations, noting which may welcome volunteers. This book also addresses some topics that I haven't such as suicide, which a congregation can be so helpful for those who are left behind, or for someone who is talking to someone who is contemplating suicide. And at this point, you can always call 988 if there is a crisis brewing for yourself or a loved one. It's not just the suicide prevention hotline, it's a crisis hotline, and we'll connect you with the closest crisis networks in your area. I have called it many times, and it has been very helpful, as has many of my friends have also used it as well. In conclusion, we need the 4 friends, you, in order to succeed in this mental illness world. You can gather others to carry us to find wholeness, being part of the solution to loneliness and the solution to barely making it on our own. You can point the ways to healthy community living. You can point to our strengths that help us trust ourselves. Most people in a congregation need these things. It is crucial for us, for those of us with severe mental illness. Please be part of our support team. Be one of the 4 friends for us. Before starting our Q&A, I'd like to ask you to raise your hand virtually or in person if you or a loved one lives with a mental health challenge. You might be surprised at how prevalent it really is. So now I invite Dave with the mic. If you have a question or a comment that you would like to make, I'd be happy to hear from you.
Dad, what I have is not so much a question as a comment. Thank you. Thank you very much, because I think a lot of us really want to be helpful and don't know how. Yeah. And your honesty and your courage inspires us to be more courageous. So thank you for doing that. And keep asking. Please keep asking, because many of us here will keep trying to answer.
Thank you.
I want to also say thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty. I can completely relate to your comment about, have you tried this? And how absolutely unhelpful that is. And how much of a difference it would make if somebody said, what do you need? I'm here, I'm listening. It would mean the world. So we're here.
I also just want to say that thank you for spending your energy to invest into our community, because I know it comes at a cost, for people who do have severe mental illness. Takes a lot of planning to do what you just did, and the vulnerability in general is really, it's hard to, when you don't know how people are going to receive what you're speaking. And I just wanted to, say that your words are being received by me, and I know probably by many others, with a heart that is filled of wanting to better understand and do better too. I kind of want to ask, when you get to the place when people, so many times we ask people who are struggling, what can I do for you? What can I do? And the answer is so hard to put into words. Have you ever reflected back during those times and come up with something that would be helpful? Because I believe that it's so hard to identify what would be helpful in the moment, but sometimes we look back and we can kind of better assess that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many, many times it's just sit with me, hold my hand, metaphorically or literally. Another thing that sounds funny, but is like a Grubhub or Uber Eats card, or if you are gifted with the ability to cook, bring a casserole or, sandwiches and say, I was thinking of you, and I guarantee it will not go to waste. Those are the things that I have found to be most helpful. Also, if you have connections in the community with NAMI support groups or DBSA, which is Depression Bipolar Support Alliance support groups, anything like that, that may be something the person hasn't heard of or is new to the community and doesn't know that's out there, and help them find those resources so that, you're helping by pointing the way to the resources.
Ryan and Julie, do we have anybody online that has their hand raised or has put a question in the chat? No? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Anything that you'd want to share? All right. Deb, thank you.
Thank you. I've got a, I've got a quote from the book to close us out. Mental illness is a spiritual problem as well as a medical and psychiatric one. People living with mental illness can experience existential doubts about selfhood, truth, meaning, love, and agency with particular intensity. It's common for people to believe that only doctors and religious professionals can offer meaningful help to people with mental health problems. But they and their loved ones need the surrounding and folding care of an entire community, not just the attention of a few designated leaders. Thank you so much.